Voices of South Asia. I'm Isha.
And I'm Sophie.
We welcome you to join us in the Human Trafficking Awareness Summit held right here in Quincy, Massachusetts, in the United States of America in 2016. Human trafficking is a global trade of humans, most commonly for the purpose of sexual slavery, forced labor, mostly fueled by poverty, gender discrimination, and runaway individuals. This may also include forced marriages and child marriages. Human trafficking has been reported in all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., and U.S. territories. FBI estimates about 100,000 to 300,000 are trafficked here in America today. 17,000 to 18,000 are trafficked right here in New England, and Massachusetts being their prime destination. Many victims are not runaways or abandoned, but are from good families who are coerced by clever traffickers. Human trafficking is a $33 billion industry, which ranks second to the drug industry today. Human trafficking is today's modern-day slavery. Join me in the awareness and the action taken by U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Mr. Peter L. DiMaggio. His insights are priceless. Join me in the tireless action and vigilance of the abolitionist network, Director Sarah Dunham. Join me in understanding the slavery behind consumer products in the Free Trade Campaign by Alexandra Carroll. Join me in the incredible service provided by the Freedom Clinic of Mass General Hospital and the doctors. Join me to understand the incredible service by Amira, Executive Director Stephanie Clark. Join me in thanking the play Body and Soul. Join me in thanking Allison Cruz, who works with real kids. And thank you, a special thanks to the Rivers for hosting the Trafficking Summit in Quincy, Massachusetts, and Mayor Thomas Koch. Join me in understanding the slavery behind consumer products in the Free Trade Campaign by Alexandra Carroll.
Afternoon. Thank you for having me. As I said, I am from Fair Trade Campaigns, and so that is actually, I'm working with all of the fair trade movement in the New England region, which spans from Maine all the way down to Albany. So I'm just going to go through a quick presentation to give kind of a little bit introduction into kind of issues of child labor and labor trafficking, and then kind of how fair trade, the fair trade movement, and then fair trade campaigns works to empower folks to be able to try to make a difference and spread awareness of what's going on. So,
on this farm, we find Abdul. He's survived 3 years of work. He's just 10. He earns no wages for his work, he says, just food, the occasional tip from the owner, and the torn clothes on his back. Put in the simplest of terms, Abdul is a child slave. We move away from the group so he can speak more freely, and through our translator, he tells us his story.
If he had a choice, he wouldn't work.
Abdul says he's from neighboring Burkina Faso. When his father died, he says, a stranger brought him to Ivory Coast. Abdul has never eaten chocolate. Tells us he doesn't even know what cocoa is for. We met Yaku on the same farm, also from Burkina Faso. My mother brought me when my father died, he tells me. Yaku insists he's 16, but he looks much younger. His legs bear machete scars from hours clearing the bush. The emotional scars seem much deeper. I wish I could just go to school, he says, to learn to read and write. But Yaku says he's never spent a day in school.
So that's just a quick video just to kind of introduce kind of situation, particularly because chocolate is one of the biggest fair trade products that you see out on the market today. So just a little bit of kind of reason why fair trade is something that is so important, something to keep in mind. So just a little bit of, just a brief few statistics. So UNICEF estimates that nearly 500,000 children work on farms across the Ivory Coast, which produces nearly 40% of our chocolate. And many of these children have been trafficked across borders and engaged in the worst forms of child labor. And so the interesting thing is, this is not something that people in the Ivory Coast really want to happen. This is just a result of issues of poverty, lack of limited access to education, and also there are laws in some of these countries, but there's just lots of unenforced laws and not good ways to enforce it. And so it's a very complicated situation, and I think that's something that's also important about fair trade, is it looks at the broad scope of issues and the broad scope of what's going on. So in places like Latin America and the Caribbean, 88.8% of children are in some form of child labor, and that is 8.4% in the Middle East and North Africa. So it is quite a large chunk of these agricultural countries' children are in this situation. Child labor, so you'll see a lot of it is in agriculture. You also see industry, service. The ones that I underlined, these are all products that you can buy fair trade. So you can get cotton, you can get coffee, sugar, rice and quinoa, cocoa. There's fair trade fish is a very new thing that we've just recently gotten standards for, so that's exciting. Textiles, mining, there's ethically sourced jewelry you can buy. So this is just, fair trade can have a huge impact on situations of child labor. So fair trade. So while fair trade cannot directly address issues where children are already experiencing child labor, what they can do is change the market. If we as consumers increase demand and call for more ethically sourced products and we raise the demand for that, more farms are going to move towards that. And then you're going to have a shift in the market, and so you'll have less farms that are dealing with issues of child labor. So they not only raise farmers' income, fair trade also provides communities with a financial premium, which helps these communities to build schools, to have enough of a financial security blanket that they can send their kids to school rather than keeping them to work in the farms. It also has strict standards that in order to keep their fair trade certification, they cannot have child labor as part of their workforce. So fair trade, as I've been mentioning, is just an economic system that works to ensure good, strict working and environmental conditions, and that farmers are treated fairly and products are harvested sustainably. And so there's we kind of break it down into three different issues that fair trade addresses. It works to guarantee a price minimum so that farmers are comfortable knowing that they will get a guaranteed price for their products. It also works for social, so there's no child or forced labor. There's access to safe working environments, so you have healthcare, you have pesticide-free, you have conditions where they're not sleeping where they're working. And similarly, no GMOs, no agrochemicals, working to kind of all-around healthy farming. So as I mentioned, one cool thing about fair trade, which really works to help with the child labor and labor trafficking issue, is this development fund. So fair trade works a lot with co-op, with farms, groups of small community farms that come together and build this kind of community. And in this community, part of what the price guarantee, part of it goes to the individual farmers, but part of it has to be put in this kind of community pot, and it turns into this kind of premium that communities get together, they form a committee, and they decide how we want to use this. A lot of times it'll go to education, it'll go to helping farms become organically certified,
We were recently in Guatemala on a co-op that just established a women's health clinic, which was really cool to see that that's where the premium is going. Schools, water and food security. It also helps them to get credit, loans from kind of local banks if they have this extra premium. So there's just this, and this is my favorite part about fair trade, knowing that communities come together to try to build themselves back up and improve their own situation. So this is kind of how the fair trade will work. So you have farms that are certified. We also work to ensure that the traders who import are also certified with good standards and are guaranteed giving that premium and that community premium as well. Brands also, and then once the brands, they go to retails and then to us, the consumers. And these are the labels that you'll see on fair trade products. And I will go through some of them. So these are the four most common labels, and these are the labels that Fair Trade USA and Fair Trade Campaigns does in fact recognize. And so you'll see Fair Trade Certified is the Fair Trade USA logo, and you'll see that on all sort of commodity products such as coffee, chocolate, ice cream, rice, quinoa, all sorts of things. Fair for Life, you've probably seen an Equal Exchange. If you've seen an Equal Exchange coffee or chocolate, they use a lot of Fair for Life. It's a very small certification company, so it's not super popular, so you won't run into that one too much. Fair Trade America is also, there's a similar logo that's Fair Trade International, so they're kind of the more global certifier, and so that's also one that we work with them closely at Fair Trade USA. And then Fair Trade Federation is what you'll see in textiles and artisan type products. So jewelry, 10,000 Villages, for example, they're a member of the Fair Trade Federation. So that's where you'll see that one. This is just a very brief, there's so many other products these days. Fair trade has grown substantially from when it started in about 1990. And so these are just kind of an example of how easy it is to make the choice. So Dunkin' Donuts, their espresso coffee is fair trade. The Newman's Own, Green Mountain Coffee, Larabar, as well as Ben & Jerry's is almost entirely fair trade at this point. So we should all go and buy more ice cream. Costco, Target, Whole Foods. Whole Foods has a lot of fair trade produce, so bananas, avocados, things like that you'll see there. So this is just, to show that it's growing and it's getting more mainstream, and it's very easy at this point to participate in the movement. So as I mentioned, Fair Trade USA is kind of our, what houses us at Fair Trade Campaign. So they're the larger organization located in California, and they handle certification. So they're the ones working with the farmers and doing audits on the farms and doing audits with the retailers and making sure that these standards are being kept. And that, they work to just create the new standards for fishing, for fair trade fishing, what that looks like. So they're the ones that are doing a lot of the kind of logistical work to make sure that fair trade is kept up in a good way. Now we here at Fair Trade Campaigns, we are the community organizing grassroots movement branch of Fair Trade USA. So we work with towns, colleges, universities, schools, and congregations to organize them and to help them spread the movement throughout their area. We give tools, resources, we provide a network across the country of organizers that are helping to organize their towns and their schools. And we help to build the movement up as much as we can. So this is kind of where we are right now. We've only been around for about 10 years, so we're slowly building. This is kind of where it is. So universities are our largest, towns after that, and schools and congregations. So again, the goals of a fair trade campaign is just to educate the community about fair trade and its demands and its benefits, particularly around things like child labor and child trafficking, to increase the economic and social impact of fair trade, again, to change the market, to make it so that the demand for fair trade is so high that this is what is left, and to highlight responsible businesses and professional opportunities. So these are some of the partners we work with. So we have a really good relationship with UNICEF and trafficking, with somebody like CRS or Nation Solidarity Network. And so we're really kind of working to build a cross-sector alliance to help pursue and help to end issues like trafficking. So I'll just go through really quickly the main campaigns that Fair Trade Campaigns has. So fair trade towns, there's each campaign there's goals that you have to meet. So build your team. You have to get a team of organizers together and agree that we'll work on kind of leading this operation. Reach out to retailers. So again, depending on the size of the town, that'll change depending on the population and all that. So that'll be something that, and there's way more detailed information on our website, and I'm happy to direct you there if anybody has questions. Reach out to retailers to get them to source fair trade products. And again, this is something that it doesn't have to be to get rid of all the Hershey's chocolate, but just also carry Equal Exchange next to it, just to offer the alternative. Engage your town, again, to get more local impact, have events, have something that gets people talking about in the community. Get some love for the media, whether it's TV or whether it's a newspaper, whether it's a social media post. And engage your local government. We ask each campaign to have some sort of resolution and to be passed by some sort of governing or body that works within that specific campaign. So with the town, it would be your local government. With something like schools, it would be the principal and the administration. So the schools only has, and this is high schools, elementary schools, and middle schools, has 3 goals: to build a team, commit to fair trade education and events, and that can be either or, it doesn't have to be both, and to source fair trade products. And our newest campaign is Fair Trade Congregations, to help to incorporate fair trade education to the social teaching of the congregation, to commit to purchase fair trade products, and to include fair trade in events. So these are kind of, there's also, we have campaigns in universities and colleges. I do not work with universities and colleges. It's such a big movement that we have a whole other person just dedicated to that because it's overwhelming. Yeah, so that's a very quick kind of overview into how we here at Fair Trade Campaigns are trying to empower consumers to help to affect issues of child labor and child trafficking. So this is, my name's right here. If you have any questions, I am here. My job is to help all of you folks. So if you need anything, you're more than welcome to contact me. This is the national organizer, Susie. She's very new, but she's very excited for the company. And she's also here to answer your questions. So we are kind of the main contact points for any sort of follow-up if you're interested in seeing where there is fair trade activity in the New England region, where there's events, we're here to help. So yeah, so I would be happy to answer any questions, to clarify, to go back through anything I briefly mentioned.
Beliefs of human trafficking in a faraway land is really not true because it's right here in New England, in Massachusetts, in the United States of America. We thank you to join us in this difficult, heartbreaking human trafficking awareness, action and solution summit in 2016. We hope that we can make a difference. Join us in our campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Isha.
And I'm Sophie.